I'm Scott Chantler, creator of the Three Thieves series, and this is the True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Scott Chantler about bringing his Three Thieves series back to print thanks to PaperKutz. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Scott Chantler, based in Stratford, Ontario, is the creator of the critically acclaimed graphic novels Squire Knight Bix, and Two Generals, which was nominated for 2 Eisner Awards, selected for Best American Comics 2012, and was voted by CBC's Canada Reads as one of the 40 best Canadian nonfiction books. His other work includes Northwest Passage, nominated for Eisner and Harvey Awards, and the Three Thieves series, winner of the Joe Shuster Award for Best Comic for Kids, and listed by YALSA as a great graphic novel for teens. In 2015, Scott served as Cartoonist-in-Residence at the University of Windsor, the first cartoonist to be appointed so by a Canadian university. The story of Three Thieves, Tower of Treasure goes like this. As an acrobat in a traveling circus, 14-year-old orphan Dessa Redd flies through the air with ease. Still, she is weighted down by troubling memories. But when a ragtag circus troupe pulls into the city of Kingsbridge, Dessa feels a tickle of hope. Maybe here in the royal city she will finally find her twin brother, or the mysterious man who snatched him away when they were just children. Meanwhile, Topper, the circus juggler, recruits Dessa and the circus strongman Fisk for the job of robbing the royal treasury. Hungry and desperate, both agree, setting off a series of adventures that will take the Three Thieves from one end of the world to the other in search of Dessa's long-lost brother. So without further ado, here's my chat with Scott Chantler about bringing his Three Thieves series back to print thanks to PaperKutz. So Scott Chantler, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
You're very welcome, John. I appreciate you having me on yet again. I've lost track of how many times I've been on your podcast. It's great.
It's been a lot. I think I've got a seat for you here as a co-podcaster. But anyway, I do appreciate your time. I know you're a busy fellow, but before I get to all the questions, I would like to know, what are you reading today?
I actually just finished on the weekend the graphic novel Fall Through by Nate Powell, who is an amazing cartoonist. Best known for his work on March with Senator John Lewis, the late Senator John Lewis. And yeah, Fall Through is like he does a lot of really political stuff as well, which is also very cool. But, Fall Through is kind of a bit more of a personal thing, dealing with his involvement in the, punk rock scene, 20, 25 years ago. Maybe more than that. But cool. Good book. Yeah, really, really interesting, unique graphic novel.
Good stuff. So I've learned that you've just had a book launch for Three Thieves Volume 1. So I wonder if you could talk a wee bit about what is that book all about?
Three Thieves is actually a relaunch of an older series of mine from back in the day. Fun kids fantasy adventure stuff that, it's a lot of like chasing and escaping and running around and adventure. The lead character, Dessa, is a circus performer, so she's an acrobat and she can use all of her acrobatic skills to get away and stuff. And she is on the lookout for her long-lost twin brother. And at the same time, her and her 2 companions, Topper and Fisk, who are a couple of, funny kind of looking, fantasy creatures, they are on the run from the best knights in the kingdom who are chasing them for robbing the queen's treasury. Yeah, like I say, it's a lot of running, escaping, chasing. It's kind of loosely based on the old TV show The Fugitive. I was a huge fan of The Fugitive in reruns when I was a kid on afternoon TV. So I created this sort of fantasy version of it, which was a lot of fun to create back in the day, and I'm glad they're coming back into print.
For sure. And I've just underlined adventure many, many times. So I think that's the key note there for that book for
That
sure.
is the keynote. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
absolute, like just good old fashioned classic adventure stuff.
Cool. I understand you have two more volumes planned for this year. Is that true?
That's correct. There's 7 books in all, but the new publisher is bringing them out kind of 1 book per season. So yeah, second book's going to be June. I think the third book is maybe October, November, something like that. And then next year as well, 2026, 3 more books will come out. So it's very cool because the books are done. so
That is cool.
so they can come out very close to each other, which is very handy. I can tell you the publisher loves it.
Well, I bet kids should start saving their loonies right now so they can
They
get
absolutely should.
absolutely. And PaperKutz is the publisher of this series. Wondering how did that happen?
I had a falling out with the original publisher, like, yeah, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and kind of took the rights back to the series, hoping to find a new publisher. That didn't happen as quickly as I had hoped. It was just not as easy as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, luckily, Adam Walenta, who's my editor at PaperKutz, started working there as a new editor. And he's a fan of the series and a fan of mine going back many years. And so he contacted me and said, like, I love your work, so pitch me something. And knowing he was a Three Thieves fan, I said, well, like the rights to the Three Thieves books are out there and available. And so he jumped on that pretty quickly. He was very happy to acquire the rights for new editions for the series.
Well,
Which
congrats
was
on
great.
that.
It's great when the editors and publishers are on your side.
Absolutely. That's the best
Yeah,
environment to be in, for sure.
exactly.
Now, we've talked in the past, as you mentioned, about some of your other books, Squire Knight series you've recently written about. So I've got to ask this question. Does the Three Thieves series exist in the same world as the Squire Knight books?
That's a really fun question. The answer is no.
Ah,
But yeah, 2 different worlds. In Three Thieves in particular, I was really adamant that there be no like monsters and no magic. It's still fantasy, but it's kind of a lower fantasy than Squire and Knight is. I really wanted Three Thieves to be about people, and the quote unquote monsters are people. They're bad people. Squire and Knight is a much more traditional kind of fantasy. There's a dragon, there's a wizard who used to live in the tower. It's much more the kind of fantasy that people would recognize. So, yeah, 2 different worlds. But what they do have in common is a kind of a spirit. I think of Squire and Knight as a kind of spiritual sequel to Three Thieves. I imagine any kid or parents or whoever who enjoy one would certainly enjoy the other.
so it's fair to say you're writing for the same audience for both series.
I would say that's fair. Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
good. Okay. Before we start recording, I mentioned how I was unable to get out to one of your recent book launches for celebrating the launch of the book. So I want to ask you then, maybe get into the nuts and bolts of what is a book launch and how is it important for you as a creator?
Well, a book launch can be any kind of event. There's usually a signing involved, but, sometimes it's more elaborate, than that with some kind of, party and giveaways and champagne. And, the thing of the dragon was pretty low key. It was mostly just a signing with myself and a couple of other creators. Yeah, so, sometimes it's just your book is freshly out. Let's, have a signing to, give it a little push into the world, but it's it's at least that. And sometimes there are multiple launches. Sometimes when a book comes out, I'll be kind of on the road doing a couple of different launches here and there. And it's just it's a little bit of publicity for a new book. Yeah, give it something for people to post on social media about, which is always a nice bit of a boost if you can make it happen.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's one element that could be included in the overall marketing campaign, I guess, of the book.
Yeah.
Other things that could be considered as well. But if anything, it's what did you say? It's a emotional confirmation and affirmation that the book is complete and out to the public. Would you say that, or is that going too far?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a bit of a little, sometimes they call it like a book birthday, the day that your book comes out. And, the launch can be like a little birthday party. They even had a cake for me at the Dragon that the folks from PaperKutz arranged for, which is a nice little surprise because it was my actual birthday last Sunday. But,
Well, belated birthday greetings. How
yeah,
about
thank
that?
you. The book and I both had a little birthday cake, which was nice.
That's good. Beyond this book launch, can you talk about any other plans you have for promotion for the book for later on this year?
This weekend, I am at Wayside Comics and Cocktails. I think it's the Saturday. What's the 22nd?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
Saturday.
it's this Saturday. If this is out before then, come see me at Wayside Comics and Cocktails. There's some stuff shaping up. I've got a couple of invites to a couple of shows that I'm, trying to work out. Nothing that's kind of ready to be announced yet, but I'll be out there. People will be able to find me.
Beyond Three Thieves, which you've talked about, there are some planned publications this year. Do you have any other projects on the go that you can talk about?
I have two big projects that like scripts that I've written. I've written over 500 pages of comics material in the past 15 months. And now I have to draw those things. So there's, yeah, definitely stuff being worked on. Two big projects, neither of them are ready to be announced.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's just be another excuse for me to come on the show again.
That's right. And I have
Exactly.
yes, exactly. And I have to maybe encourage you and poke you and prod you a little bit, but I know you do some tremendous illustrations come time of Inktober or whatever we call it now. Just
Right.
tremendous, a variety of different subject matter. And I'm wondering, would you ever consider putting those together in some compendium, some book?
Yeah, I have thought about that, and it's a great idea. I've always wanted to put out some kind of art book, but that kind of thing just takes time that I do not have.
Okay,
I need
sure.
I need some kind of an assistant to collect all those things into a book for me while I'm, yeah, drawing my 500 pages of other stuff I have to draw.
Sure. Yeah.
It's I've been thinking about an art book for 15, 20 years and
Wow.
have never quite gotten around to it.
It'll be
By the
big
by,
when it comes out, that's for
right,
sure.
by the time I get there, there will be so much material. Yeah.
Well, with everything on the go, I'm wondering where you recommend people to find out about your current and your future projects.
Yeah, I actually recently just kind of gave my website overhaul to actually put it back to something more similar to what it was 20 years ago, which was kind of a website where you can get information about my books, but also as a blog that you can subscribe to. Social media, as we all have probably observed in recent years, is seems to be falling apart a little bit. The social media era definitely seems to be on the back hill, on the downward slope. Tech companies gave us all megaphones 20 years ago and said, "Here, use these," and we did, and it was great. If you had a book or something that you wanted people to buy, you could shout into your megaphone, "Buy my book." But as we all know, there's been a lot of downside to those megaphones, and a lot of their people are just throwing theirs into the lake. Yeah, I've definitely noticed my, whether it's algorithms or people just leaving Instagram or whatever, my engagement on social media is just way down, and my follower count keeps dropping instead of going up as people are deactivating their accounts and such. So, I decided to, yeah, like I say, basically dial my website back 20 years, create a blog so that, if people just end up abandoning social media completely or the algorithms just aren't showing our posts to each other, people will be able to go there and get, some of the kind of news and updates they would get from me on social media. So, scottchantler.com. If you're not following me anywhere else, and maybe you aren't, yeah, scottchantler.com will always be a thing where there will be no billionaires with algorithms controlling what you see. It will just be me. It'll just be me showing you the stuff I'm working on.
It's very wise to be the master of your own destiny, I think, in this internet age.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Scott, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
Go buy Three Thieves. Go buy Squire and Knight. Uh, there are new Three Thieves books going to be coming out every season. And, come find me out there somewhere and get me to sign those books.
Thanks to Scott for the chat. You can discover more about Scott online at scottchantler.com and on Blue Sky. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to more conversations and discover even more about creators' insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're welcome to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.